What's up, guys? It's John at National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to go into obviously tonight's football game, and then the couple basketball games I went with. There's actually more college games that fit my metrics tonight, so I have a few college games, but I wanted to go into a couple of these and what I believe to be possibly the trap of the century, but I could be wrong. And I also want to thank everybody that came, to the live chat. I think we had a nice turnout. I think we had a good back and forth think tank type of deal going, and everybody was really grateful and stuff. And I'm just as grateful to you guys. So thank you. Like I said, I'm never doing anything that I'm not doing anyway. If I'm already going to be looking at these games, I have no problem putting out my picks. Speaking of, yesterday weren't the best. Luckily, the Suns really came through in the end. If you're in my Discord, it's just one of those another things that I recommend people join for. Once we saw the Hawks weren't looking too good, we were able to go ahead and make the Suns a leg 3. Like I said, even in the stream, I really thought the Suns were a lock. With Chris Paul out, everyone was going to fade them, and nobody seems to pay attention to how good Cameron Payne plays. He's like JP. So when he's not in, Chris Paul, people are going to be fading them, and they're not going to realize that it's like Curry being out and JP steps in. You don't really see much of a difference. It just, they're, in my opinion, Payne can actually be better in some regards. So outside of that, we did go with I had the Heat winning simply because I did not think they were going to start them this bad against, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I didn't think they were going to start them off this bad on this metric here. And it's an important metric. They hold over the year, so you're not going to have, for example, Portland hold, as much as I love them. And we're not going to see Miami here continue to be worse than the Lakers. Same with Dallas, Golden State, but Miami's really blatant. So when I picked them yesterday, and if you remember, I went over in the stream, I had actually picked them because it was more of a 2-game pick. So this is one of those, do we do a fourth leg, do we not? We'll see how today's games play out, but almost definitely I'll probably be going Heat again for leg 4 here. That was my intent by going Dallas Heat. Again, these are two teams that are good or bad against the spread this year that eventually are going to turn it around. So it's really more the metrics that I don't believe the Heat are going to lose another one and start off that bad against the spread, especially because I don't think they're going to finish as the worst team against the spread. So they're going to get it turned around, and I just don't think you can start them off with many more losses against the spread and be able to turn that around. The other one we finally caught an under on the Celtics. They've been going over a lot, so we went ahead and took the Celtics under. And the over still almost hit towards the end, but we wound up getting that one, so that was nice. And that made up for the other one. We actually had the Celtics, like I said, I had the Hawks. So that one, we kind of split that game. We had the over-under hit, but we missed the game itself. And then as far as college, we only played one game. We played Texas Southern plus 30.5, simply because Houston's 3-0 against the spread, and you know my metric on that. So that didn't hit, but I have a couple college games for tonight, and I won't bore you guys with the details. Essentially, TCU's 0-3 on the spread, so that's why I picked them. The University of San Diego, I believe they're playing Washington or another school that whoever they're playing is 3-4-0 on the spread. I'll find them so you guys don't have to go all over the place looking for the University of Washington. But California Baptist. So that's another one. I got California Baptist over Washington, and I got them with the points because, again, I don't think California Baptist starts off 0-4. Some of your shittier teams might have bad records against the spread, but again, it never holds up over the course of a season. And that last one is San Diego. I'm just trying to remember who they're playing. And again, I know no narratives about these teams. I don't know these players. I don't know anything about them. That's why I'm just going off metrics for these ones. So, that's the reason I'm not going into too many details. So you can take that with a grain of salt. But I'm just going into the metrics that I've never seen fail. So we're fading Utah State here, okay? Because I think they're 3-0 on the spread. And that's why we took San Diego. So this one I just specifically faded. In the other case, I took the team because I think they will. Yeah, so California Baptist we got over Washington with the points, of course. And then University of San Diego, we got against Utah. Okay, Utah State. So those are those 3 games: TCU, San Diego, and Baptist. Now, the Texas Southern. What I'm doing with that one is we're gonna wait because we have a lot of sequences, as you can see, and we also have some NBA. Now, the thing about NBA is, as I said a second ago, there is, in my opinion, the trap of the century here. As much as I love, Portland this year, and, I say it every video that they're my preseason pick. I still have them. I think they are ridiculously deep. I think they're such a good team. I would feel like at this point the public can't still be fading them, and I can't imagine the public's going to be on the Nets. So while it seems like a layup of the century, now yesterday the Wolves was kind of that way, against the Magic. We thought, okay, there's no way the Magic should theoretically get blown out, and they did. So it could be one of those games where, Blazers just cover, simple. But I'm staying away from it because I don't know why they'd be giving them only 2, the Nets. Now, someone pointed up, this was 1 last night, by the way. Someone pointed up that it'll probably move to 4 by game time, which could explain the Nets maybe covering. But even that, I just think this should have started around 3 or 4, so at least 4. So I'm going to be taking the over, which you can see is a very odd number. So I'll 222.5. The reason I'm taking it is Portland's one of the worst teams this year on the over. Another team that the worst team this year on the over is the Clippers. Okay, so they're at 216.5. So for both of these games, I do like the over. So here we're going to go Clippers over. We will do this one as a second leg, just because they're 3-13 on the over. Again, eventually that just doesn't maintain. So this will be to win 50, of course, a second unit, probably 48. And then the other one, since we have a lot of first sequences, we'll see how they go. And then we will go ahead and, if we need to for Portland, we can always add money to that bet, and then we can make it a second sequence. That's what I did with the Suns last night. I had the Suns as a second sequence. Once the Hawks lost, I added $50 to it, made it a third sequence. And that helps a lot. So here we're going with Blazers to also go over. And just because it's an odd number, I am going to buy the half point on my, even though it is this official metric, you know what I'm saying, that I'm going off of. I just don't love that number. So the 222.5. So I'm going to buy it down to just a half point if I'm not already getting it. So we like the Blazers over. Outside of that, I'm not loving the NBA tonight. I like the Clippers over. Again, just 2 teams that have not gone over. But I think all these games could be trap games. They're all very suspicious. The lines are suspicious on these games. We got the Kings as 7-point favorites against San Antonio. Meanwhile, the Nets and Blazers are just deadlocked. It makes no sense to me. I don't see how they can justify that. With the Blazers being at home, with the Nets just getting shellacked, no Kyrie, all these different factors. And so if I had to bet this game, I'd probably, I don't know. I really don't even want to. I don't even want to give a hypothetical. This game's so ridiculous. But hypothetical, I'd probably go Blazers because I think they want to push, again, the actual team versus independent superstars right now you just got KD. But it could be a trap game, but I think it's more of a message game. But again, I'm strongly advising the over for that game and just not playing a winner. And I like the over on the Clippers as well. So we have those, and obviously we went into our college picks. Now here's where more narrative comes in. Obviously I faded this man very hard, and I faded Tennessee very hard last week. I think, Aaron I faded rightfully so. But, Tennessee came through. They did beat Denver. I was trying to look at their pictures to see how they look, right? Sometimes they give it away, but maybe sometimes I'll look more focused. Sometimes I'll look angry. It's weird. But I do think this game, I don't think they would have this story going on with the Packers for them to just lose now and ruin the entire second half of the season. To me, that wouldn't make sense. So I do think that the Packers get it done. They go on a bye week, I think, the week after this, so it makes sense. They lose. It's almost like impossible to explain away how they can get into the playoffs without literally like Seattle, Washington completely losing out. So I just don't think, like, he can lose a game or two, but I just don't think right now they can have it happen. They're going to think that, Rodgers' win was a fluke, not knowing that it's rigged, and they set it up this way. So I love Packers here. I'm going to be taking, I got a -2.5. I was afraid the line was going to move to 3.5, so I wanted to lock it in while it was still there. So this one's going to be a second leg of our Nets loss. Remember the Nets-Kings pummeling? I like it. You can make it a third leg if you want to. I'm personally waiting to make some third leg, like see what happens. So say one team that starts at 7 doesn't do so well, and it's a second leg. You could always add to Green Bay, like I said. I'm sticking with this one as a second leg. I don't trust it like others, like I do a third leg. But yeah, I would buy that 0.5 point. Rodgers is notorious for winning these 3-point games, so I mean, hopefully it's not a 2-point game, but I think 2.5 is enough. I think he gets it done, and I think they win the game. Continue that narrative of can Rodgers get in. They've been doing that a couple years now where he makes late season runs. The other one I went with is SMU +4. And it's another just simple metric. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. We actually already faded Tulane last week, and it did work out. I just don't know if they finish 9-2. I don't think you can have this many teams finishing with, only a couple losses against the spread. Historically, you'll have a couple of teams finish with 2 losses against the spread, and by a couple, I mean like 3 or 4. Here we're online to have handfuls. So I think SMU, as you can see, I did buy 0.5 point. SMU is not only going to be faded very hard in this game, but I think Tulane's purpose is up. Also, Rice, he's literally going into the draft, and he's considered the best receiver in the nation, maybe outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think there's a very good chance, finally, this guy actually shows up in a winning effort. Like, it always seems like I pick this dude, and he just plays terrible, sells, somehow gets good numbers without actually doing anything. He's really good at that. So I'm sure he'll do swell in the NFL. But yeah, I think SMU does get that done. So I didn't want to do a bunch of picks, but like I said, college was the ones I liked the metrics the most. So again, we're fading Washington and Utah State, which means we're taking California Baptist +8.5. You'll see them. And we're taking San Diego here +6.5. I am taking TCU to cover that spread of 17. And I like both the Blazers and Clippers to go over their respective margins. And then that just leaves, obviously, Green Bay and SMU. And I think both of them cover. So that's what I have for tonight. I probably feel strongest with teams like Green Bay just because of the narrative. But I am liking that Clippers over. Not loving this game. If I had to, I'd go the over here as well. Because actually, all of these teams rank in the bottom 7 to 10 as far as against the metric, against the spread going over. They've all gone under a lot, meaning public might be taking under on these games. So I think at least 2 of these games go over. I just went with the Clippers and the Blazers. And again, I can give you who I think might win, but it's just a coin flip in my opinion. So that's why I stuck with the overs here. And that's really it. I think Rodgers gets it going. Doesn't quite finish, but I think tonight he does. I think tonight he gets the job done, and people start having faith in Green Bay again. Take care, and happy earnings.